Oh, hello everyone. Welcome to Spiri Sunday edition, SpiriTV. Beautiful to see you all. Got three beautiful shows ready for you. First up is Kristen with The Gift, and that's followed by oh boy, my mind just went blank. Bear with me for a second. I got a bunch of messages coming in at the same time, so everything's very spontaneous. So up first is The Gift with Kristen. Next is Divine Intervention, today with Anna, and followed by Modern Mystics in the new time slot with Andy. So without further ado, handing it over to The Gift with Kristen.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to The Gift. Welcome to Sunday. I have a really sweet show for you today. It came in so spontaneously this morning. Actually, I had a different plan for my show, and the Spirit just swept in this morning with this beautiful prompt. And I have special guest Kristen Buxton with me here today. She's joining us from Camas. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Yeah, so this show came in, this collaboration came in so spontaneously because you've just arrived back from India on what feels like a whirlwind adventure and so much to share. So I just feel inspired. You're a presenter coming up on next week's Stepping into Magnitude retreat. And just as we were joining this morning, it was so clear that there's so much from your trip that is so relevant. So I'm really excited to hear more about it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm so glad to join with you and have you kind of pull it back into my awareness, because to me it feels so simple and so natural that I wouldn't even know what to say. I don't even know what to talk about. But yeah, so it feels beautiful for us to collaborate in this way, and you can just remind me of like, what is it? Because there's this sense of the consistency of the magnitude and the presence behind it all. And then, yeah, as we talk about the different stories or different experiences, then it just feels like that brings it into the forefront of what it really is. So.
Well, I love right off the bat how you mentioned the simplicity of it, because that was what really struck me as we were talking about this, and you were just sharing a little bit about your time there, is that I have some idea of magnitude, and it looks like something very lofty and maybe out of reach. It feels big. Mm. But as we were talking this morning, you just drew it right back, and to know it's the simplicity of a gentle, loving presence. That is magnitude. And so maybe we can even start there, because as you were describing your experience of India, you were describing there was like this contrast where there's a deep awareness of God that's underneath everything. And maybe everything on the surface looks very busy, but that it's really about this presence. And that is the magnitude. So I'd love to hear more. I'd love to hear more about just your initial experience of India, like even in a broad sense.
Yeah, well, I think the whole purpose for me going there actually was not really to see India or go to special places or go there for a particular experience. I went there upon invitation from Clint, who is just a beloved friend, and we were given the term by Jesus prayer partners. We became prayer partners 6 months ago. And we went on these amazing adventures like Japan, New Zealand, and here in the States. And then I had this feeling about India. And as we were talking, he was thinking, but why would you come to India? What would you do? What would your purpose be? And he couldn't wrap his mind around how I could come or what I would even do there. And then at one point he had this realization, oh, wow, this is for the healing of my mind. I could invite you to come purely for that reason. And it felt so beautiful. We just felt the miracle of that guidance. And so the foundation for my trip to go to India was was what for us is so normal. It's about joining in mind and having this priority of the healing of the mind and being so connected in oneness that you're literally aware of the presence of God in every moment, or what there is to be healed. So that was it. And then I didn't go as a teacher. I didn't feel guided to set up anything in advance. So I almost felt like I was an undercover agent for Jesus or for the Spirit, to just go and just be and say yes to these invitations to join and go on these adventures or these trips or these meals or these outings, to just be the presence of who I am, and then let the miracle reveal itself, let the joinings come to me and reveal, what they are. So it was, that was really the context and the foundation for why I went there. And then, to really just feel that experience of the sameness beyond it all is what I found myself experiencing.
Right. Well, that's such a beautiful combination, because you mentioned the fluidity of it all and the sameness, and there's such a flexibility of, let's go here now, even if it's jumping on a plane, like, very, very swiftly. It's like, that feels great. And the simplicity of the presence, it feels like a really powerful combination. And you mentioned even just a lot of things happening so spontaneously, and it seems like you've just got so many parables to share. I wonder if you want to just see Dr. Neuron. So Dr. Neuron and Clint have been linked for a little while, and Clint has had a learning assignment with him, I think, or maybe you can even just share about that. I don't want to. I would love to learn more about it, because I am learning about these things for pretty much the first time as well. So,
Sure. Clint was met Dr. Naram, and then his father was very ill, and so he took his father to see him, because Western medicine couldn't save his life, basically. And through his experience with Dr. Naram, he was deeply inspired and was impelled to share him with as much as he could. He was like, wow, everyone should know about this option in terms of medical support. It's way more than medical support. It's Ayurvedic, ancient healing methods. So in terms of, and he's a researcher, a university researcher. So for the last 9 years, he's worked very closely with Dr. Naram, and been with him and traveled with him, and learned from him and gone on this journey. And he's just coming to the end of this 9-year period where he has a book that is coming out in the next few months. So that's the context for him being there. And it's like his sort of family in India. He spends a lot of time, I'd say he probably lives there more than he lives anywhere else in the world. So when I lost you. Oh, okay, there's a photo. So this is Clint and I, and now this is Dr. Naram and I. So Clint didn't really tell Dr. Naram anything about me other than looks like we're going through a series of photos.
I think we can just stick with Kristen now. Yeah, it would be sweet to just hear the parable unfold with Kristen.
Okay. He didn't tell Dr. Naram anything about me specifically, other than I was a co-founder of a spiritual community, a mystic, but not really much about that. And more that I was just there to help him with the book, because that was like the context that Dr. Naram could completely understand, that I was there to read through it with him. So I felt really honored, actually, to spend this time with Dr. Neuron and his family in such a close way, because he's helped 1 million patients actually in a very effective way. And in terms of just a healing modality, Mother Teresa asked him for help. The Dalai Lama has asked him for help. And so we had these experiences together, and it wasn't until right at the end, actually, towards the end of my stay, I started to get the strong prompt to meet with him, have a one-on-one with him. And so I asked him for 5 minutes, because he's really, really busy. He said, yes, of course, 5 minutes. And before we met, I started to have this feeling, I want to give him a gift, because he's so generous. He's in constant service, through his work. He's a miracle worker. It's like the healing and the medical part of it is the backdrop to really knowing that the healing is in mind, and then the medical part is the magic that is also supportive for the healing. So I was like, okay, Jesus, what can I give him? Because I'd been hosted. I don't know, he just gave me all these, just constantly wanting to give. And then Jesus said to me, give him the gift of your wisdom. Give him the gift of awareness of who you are and what it is that you do. I was like, oh, wow, okay, it's time. It's time to kind of reveal and share the depth of what it is that we do. So we sat for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, he was like, oh my God, why didn't we meet before now? I can't believe it. So we sat for half an hour, and he was deeply inspired by A Course in Miracles. He'd actually treated Marianne Williamson years ago. She was one of his patients, but he thought she'd written the book. He had no context of it all. So I, as best as I could, was giving him a full context of it, saying, actually, no, Jesus, you could say, is the author of this book. He's our teacher. Because in India, you have a guru, you have a teacher. Well, who wrote the book, and how many students, and what is this course? How do we do this course? And so it's so different to try to explain. No, it's like a self-study course, and Jesus is the teacher. But the more we talked, and the more I shared about healing of mind and consciousness, the more he then revealed to me about, he said, well, actually, my master said to me, because there seems like there's so much focus on the body. Everyone who comes to him is because usually their body's breaking down, or they have someone who's autistic in their family or suicidal. Some do come with more of a mental or spiritual or situation that they want help with. But for the most part, it's physical. People come with cancer and cystic fibrosis, and they've gone through menopause, and then they want to have a baby, all these different kind of things. But when I shared with him about the depth of the metaphysics of the Course, and even said, the teaching is that, what is true is eternal, and then all else of form, including the body, is temporary. That's the Maya, the illusion. He's like, yes, of course. And we went into this deeper conversation to then where he was saying, actually, my master tells me, he said, it's 90% mind. The healing is 90% of the mind. And then it's just 10% to do with the body. But for you, of course, I realize it's 100% consciousness. So it's different there. And he said, and the other thing that I do that's different is it's about perception. I help people change their perception. I'm like, okay, great. There were so many points that we could join on, and that I could just celebrate with him about. I said, actually, that's the whole healing of A Course in Miracles. We have to shift our perception. It's like the projection of this universe from a place of separation is where all of the guilt and the suffering and the heartache, and then the illness is, because we're out of alignment with our true identity. And it is the healing of perception that brings us back into alignment with who we are, and therefore then our life's purpose of how everything can be healed, and used for a higher purpose. So it was really beautiful to join with him. And he was very, very inspired to hear about David and what we do. And he wants to meet David. And he gave me some gifts from Tibet to give to him. And yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It just sounds like your whole trip was lit up with holy encounters, like just so spontaneously, as you were saying, like basically you just, it's perfect actually, because we've just come from undoing the doer. So this is like a demonstration of, I need do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm here to be truly helpful. And then from there, the ones that are drawn to the presence, you called it the invisible presence of love, and how like the Holy Spirit, like just really waiting and available for the ones that feel a call to joy and to just find you actually. And yeah, I feel like Dr. Neuron is a perfect example of that. And you also mentioned that you were contacted, or you had plans to go to Swamiji's birthday party. So this huge gathering of like 250,000 people, but plans changed and another invitation and holy encounter came in and reworked things. So I wonder if you feel inspired to share about that.
Sure. When we were initially thinking of going to this event with 250,000 people, it was a day trip. So it was getting up at 4 a.m, traveling, going to this event, traveling, and then flying back at 4 a.m. And I thought, well, I just couldn't feel that there would be much of an opportunity to be joining with Clint, and that the main purpose for me being there was us to have opportunities to pray together, and join and be of service together. And so I said, let's just see if something else comes in before I say yes, buy me a plane ticket. And then sure enough, it was like the Spirit did that every single time. It was like anything I wanted, anything I felt, the Spirit was like, yes, of course, let me just arrange that for you. So there was an invitation from a friend of Dr. Neuron and Clint's, a very, very wealthy man. He started off with nothing, and he just had this, and just recently he gave like $30 million to charity last year, just as a context of where he finds himself now. So he invited us, he wanted to spend time with us and then drive us to the Swamiji's birthday party. So it all worked out perfectly. I could feel, yes, this is a holy encounter. And that's what I wanted. I really wanted the holy encounter opportunities. So as we joined with him, I just had this sense that because of the wealth and all that he does, there's, it's like a focus on serving others, or, and he's very wanting to do so much for India, do all he can. He has a beautiful heart. But as we were talking, I just asked him about his relationship with God, and he just started sharing about when he was a little boy, like a child. People just couldn't believe how much he loved God, and he just wanted to pray all the time and worship and then as we talked about everything else that's unfolded, I could just feel the sense of such joy and connection. Like I just had tears in my eyes when he was sharing about that. And I could feel the sense that underneath it, like everything unfolding for him was this core purpose of the relationship with God. And so now he started this whole movement of trying to support even young girls in India to find their voice and speak up. So he goes to schools and he's developed this whole program. But there's actually, some of it is coming from, you have to speak up, you have to find your voice, you have to make a difference in the world. And there's a push, there's a feeling of a push element behind it. And so I could just feel the sense of, wow, that's why I'm here. I'm here to remind him, actually, he didn't do any of this by himself. Like the success comes from God. It's not personal. It's like whatever it is that you're to do in this life, it's beyond your personal control. And yes, the inspiration for get in touch with what you feel you want. Dream big. They're always talking about dream big in India, because there's so much poverty, so much poverty that it's almost this impulse to rise above, to expand, to be the greatest you can be, despite the situation with millions and millions of people who don't even have toilet facilities or clean water facilities. It's right there. Everywhere you go, you're reminded of the contrast, this huge contrast. And so he wants to inspire, everyone he can to dream big, and which is so beautiful. And yet I could feel we were invited again a second time to meet with him right before we left. He flew us to Delhi to this book presentation on yoga, which is another parable. But I just found the Spirit coming through me anytime we had an opportunity to talk, just about thanking God, thanking God, and the remembrance of the humbleness of relaxing into where it comes from. So it was a contrast. Like, even as we went to this book launch, he was there, and there were two politicians and very wealthy people, and well-known, highly respected people there speaking, and I could just feel the sense of what is it really that's behind it all. And then as I sat there, two of the politicians who spoke, like when it came to their speech, they actually just started speaking about oneness. It was just so amazing. And one of them got up, and apparently there'd been a lot of stuff like with this political party and between, I think, Hinduism and Muslim as well, but just being a bit of an issue. And then when he got up there, he just, at one point, just started to speak about what is real and what is true and what is of value. And he said, yoga is of union. Yoga is non-duality. Yoga is an integration into the oneness that you are. Everything of time and space, everything that is external, everything that you seek for and desire in this world. You desire with your eyes, it's external. If you desire and hear something with your ears, it's external. See, that's not the truth. That's not the truth of who we are. We have to come back to the union. We have to come back to, what am I really here for? What am I really here for? And he was talking even about success in this world. It just felt like the whole thing was orchestrated. And said, if your focus is on success in this world, your ego gets puffed up, and then you will be deflated. And so it's not about that. It's about, and he was really speaking about magnitude and littleness. He was speaking about rise up, allow your life to be the fullest of what it's meant to be. And just remember where it comes from. Remember who is giving this to you.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, well, you touched on something there that has been a theme. It's something I've seen a number of times over the last week or so, and that's something David spoke about recently too. Like the senses are actually a trick. And with what you're saying, it's always to come back to the feeling and to let that actually lead the way. And it was reminding me too of another thing you were sharing about a book signing or a book event that was for Clint's book, and how there's just such an underlying care and deep honoring of the listening, and like a real solid connection with one another. And yeah, I wonder if you care to touch on that, because you described it in the context of like with our community, and just even, well, yeah, with our community there, we have expression sessions, which are an opportunity to really speak up, as you're saying, to really clear the heart. And this just felt like something that was actually very natural. Like there was a natural honoring of, I have something to say and I'm going to speak, and then just a real care.
Yeah, that's when the first weekend I was there, Clint and I were there with Dr. Neuron and his family, and we all came together one evening for Clint to read through the first or one of the chapters in the book, to just hear everyone's thoughts and the feedback from everyone. And that's what I really noticed. Like, we have a lot of, that's what we do in our community. We practice with being prayerful, practice with listening and honoring and holding the space for one another to be able to fully communicate all that's there and have the space to be able to do that, have the space held. And so I was just I felt it. I felt it was such a gift to be there with them, and they were just naturally holding that for each other, in this, the book reading. Like, he read through it, and then he asked one by one, asked, what are your thoughts and what are your feelings, and tell me your insights and tell me what you would change. And but it was beyond just the interaction. It was such a deep, it reminded me of being in Japan, actually. When I was there, the presence that was held amongst them all they're so present and listening. And it's so supportive for the one speaking, because then the one who was speaking didn't feel rushed. They felt that what they had to share was worthy of everyone's attention. And so they could really let it come from a deeper place. And then every sentence spoken was valuable. And so it was the same experience there that I felt with that group. There was one uncle who was kind of jumping in a little bit, but Clint was like, actually, just wait, Liz. Everyone else is just very, very aware. I think he was just a bit passionate and kind of had his thoughts and kept getting triggered by what he wanted to say. But there was for everyone else, there was such an awareness. They just weren't even disturbed. It was like, no, just stay, listen. And there's a word, there's a saying there in India. I shared it on one of my Facebook posts. Atiti Devo Bhava. Atiti Devo Bhava. And it means basically God is showing up in the unexpected guest. Isn't it?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So whenever you experience being interrupted by someone, Atiti Devo Bhava, God is showing up in the unexpected guest. And I just feel this is such a beautiful symbol of littleness versus magnitude. Littleness is when you're believing your own littleness thoughts. Even the fact I could be interrupted. This is not what I had in mind. I have another plan, etc., etc. But to actually have that as the first response, like, oh, this is God showing up. Let me meet you with total honor in this moment, and then we see where it goes and how much time we have together. It's precious.
Wow. Yeah, it actually draws us full circle, I feel, because what you were sharing around, let me find the words again. What you were sharing about how there's such a patience with everybody has something valuable to say. Like, that actually is the magnitude. That's the worthiness of just something as simple. I love that it draws us back to the simplicity, because it can't be that magnitude is difficult. Like, it has to be so close. It has to be closer than your breath. I have that phrase in my mind lately. It has to be closer than my breath. For it to really be felt, for it to really be a felt experience. So just that simplicity, like, the magnitude is available all the time to all of us. It's not something that needs to be striven for. And in fact, the Course even says all your striving must be directed against littleness. And it's just, as you said, like, it's just a relaxing into where is it coming from? And then the magnitude just flows from there. It sounds like that's the way your whole trip went, actually. It's just, I will step back and let him lead the way. And then all of a sudden, this whole adventure unfolds, and the spontaneity and the holy encounters. And it it feels so rich and restful and exciting. Like, yeah, Holy Spirit, take me on that adventure.
Yeah, really effortless. It's just like a very full flowing river with so fluid, you know, and that's what I feel like the whole symbol of India is. It's, you cannot have expectations. You cannot set parameters around certain things. And especially when there's a Titi Devo Bhava, that means if God shows up, you know, everyone knows that if you make an appointment, someone could be up to an hour late because of a Titi Devo Bhava. You know? Because if God shows up, it's so precious that you can't say, I have another plan. No, it's like, yeah, it's, and then sure enough, the Spirit arranges things for whatever those meetings are to be. No, that's what I saw, just this divine plan that just kept unfolding with this fluidity and spontaneity that just felt like it was underlying everything. So...
Wonderful, Kirsten. Well, I have a surprise because we've run out of time, but we have an extra few minutes if we'd like. So I just wondered, actually, we have some photos that will help just drive the experience home. So I wondered if we just put them up and if you wanted to just share a little bit about them. Or if you feel more inspired to speak to the retreat this weekend. I just feel like these last 5 minutes are an opportunity to like bring it home or something.
Sure. I think, well, yeah, I mean, the retreat this weekend, I feel is it's this topic and it feels really rich. And so I just, yeah, I really look forward to it, of being in the immersion of this theme for the whole weekend. So if any of you feel, yeah, to join us, it just feels precious, really precious to be just reminded of the simplicity of who we are. And yeah, we could put up a couple of photos. That sounds great. There's a Gandhi. There are 2 Gandhi pictures there. So in this first visit,
I think we're going to find you the Gandhi photos here.
Okay, that's Dr. Neuron putting joy blankets. Can you see how colorful those blankets are? He goes out occasionally and, well, they do, like as a group, and will just go and find people who are cold and put blankets on them. This was a mother with her children laying on the concrete, because he had a night in his youth when his father had kicked him out of the house. He had a cold night on concrete, and he made a commitment that when he could, he would offer this. And someone put a blanket on him that night. He woke up in the morning and he had a blanket over him. And he made a commitment that later on, when he had the money and the resources, he would offer this gift. And they're so joyful and bright. I just love those blankets. They're so loving.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's me. It's now going to see Gandhi. So this was part of the contrast, you know, going there to this place. This was the home of Gandhi, where he grew up, actually. And just walking around there was such a palpable feeling of love and honor and respect that I could feel, you know, like the love of a nation is what I felt like I was tuning into there. And it's simple, just the simplicity even within which they lived there. A very, very simple place, but just walking around it felt like an honor to walk around and be reminded of the gift. And there's another Gandhi one. Okay, that's meeting Jack Canfield, just a surprise encounter. That's with Rizwan, who's the very generous businessman who invited Clint and I to go and be with him those 2 times. He took us around Gandhi's home. Okay, maybe there's some technical difficulties with getting the actual photos up. That's the Swamiji on his throne. And this is a video just to give, we can play it just for a little bit if it'll play, just to give a sense of the volume of the people there. If you've never been to an event with 250,000 people, which that's kind of what it looks like. It was such an interesting contrast, like all of the people. And then he came down this purple aisle on a big golden throne with fireworks going out the front. And there was a huge screen at the front with these big, there's a screen saver with these big elephants with this boom, boom, boom music with different gurus. Here he is. Oh, that was him going down this slide there. You know, this kind of like the outpicturing of magnitude, you know, with these gurus and on the elephants, like charging on the screensaver while he comes down on this big golden throne with fireworks down the middle of the aisle, surrounded by 250,000 devotees. And it was just fun. It was really fun to be there. This angel I met, I sat with some very, very sweet devotees who are friends with Clint and Dr. Neuron. They're from Europe, actually. And I just, went there and sat with them, and we had a beautiful holy encounter time together, kind of in the midst of it all. And we were just there for a short amount of time, and Clint was on the stage. And then once the Swamiji started to speak, we actually left really quickly because you don't want to get stuck in the traffic of 250,000 people all leaving at the same time. But I was there just long enough to hear him say, this is about undoing the ego, and you cannot know God unless you actually undo the ego and lay it all aside. So I was like, thank you. That's what that's what I came to hear.
Oh, wow, Kristen. Well, on that note, I think, I'm hoping we're going to get to hear more about this next weekend on the retreat. And just, I don't know, I feel like there's so much more to hear about your trip. And thank you so much for joining me today. And it's a real joy to hear about all of this.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you later. Not next week. Next week is the retreat, but we'll see you the week after that.
Wow. That sounded like one heck of a trip. I'd love to hear more about it. I'm sure we will. I'm sure that there'll be more sharing about that. Oh, okay. So just a couple of things. I've written a note to myself about what's new. And what I wrote back was more like what isn't. Everything is new. A highlight of this time in the last few days was yesterday. There was a wedding. Peter Kirk and Helena Vandervelden. Helena is Linda, but she's actually reverting to a name that she hasn't used for a while. So Peter and Helena were married yesterday. Beautiful, beautiful celebration. I caught the retransmit of the video that Jason had taken. It happened right in the middle of Miracle Movies, so I wasn't able to be there live, but it looked like a beautiful, beautiful event. Collaboration, stepping into magnitude is such a theme coming through our community. David has a number of collaborations coming up. A couple that we know of that are going to happen right away, of course, is on January the 29th. There's a live online interview with David and Jennifer Hadley. David and Jennifer go back, way back. So it'll be wonderful to see them share on this online interview. And that's on Tuesday, January the 29th at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And the very next day, and I'm so looking forward to this because I don't know Alan Cohen very well, but the little pieces I've seen, I imagine this is going to be quite a beautiful, humorous, lighthearted interview. I mean, the title is How to Maintain Spiritual Awareness While the World Events Are Cuckoo. I think that's fantastic. That's Wednesday, January 30th at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So that's just two of a number of collaborations. They're just, everything just is just flowing in. So there'll be lots more of those types of collaborations with David and other folks. So stay tuned. And again, any of this, all of this is available at our website, livingmiracles.org /events. So any kind of events that are coming up will certainly be there. This moment is your miracle. Wow, is this thing is taking off. Thank you so much for everything that you guys have done to extend about this book. As you know, February 2nd is the official release date, and it really feels like it's a friends of friends time for extending about this book. So if you haven't mentioned it to a friend, please do. Word of mouth is so powerful, and it really feels like it's a great time to extend this and say, hey, have you heard about this? And send them to the website. This moment is your miracle website. Carolina will put the links up. And just letting know that the pre-order offers actually will end very, very shortly. This will be the last week that those offers are available. And right now, you're still able, for the cost, if you will, of 3 books, to get a free entry into one of our online retreats. And that is about to expire. So if you haven't spoken to some friends, now is the time to let them know about it. Have them come to the website, and that free retreat is available for simply pre-ordering 3 books. So it's a beautiful offer. And the guys on this team are just so amazing with their marketing. In the next few days, there will be some targeted email blasts for specific countries. And what's happening is we're joining with some of the local distributors, and there will be some additional giveaways based on what's available in any country. So stay tuned to your emails. There'll be lots of information coming and some more giveaways for This Moment Is Your Miracle. It's truly an amazing time here. Okay, so in 3 minutes, we'll be up with Divine Intervention with Anna. So please stay tuned. Well, welcome back, everyone. It's time for Divine Intervention with Anna. Take it away.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Oh, so nice to see you. It's been a long time. Yeah, you might be wondering why I'm not here with Ken, but today I have a special guest. My special guest is Emily.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, I invited her because it seems that we've been going through very similar things, and it just feels like a sister that's been holding my hand through these changes. And yeah, it's all started changing, and my relationship with Ken feels like it's transforming. That's why he's not right now with me. So we're going through a transformation and going into these new different missions. And so yeah, that's why I'm here today. And yeah, I just wanted to share with you what's been going on with these few weeks for me, and the changes and the new adventures and the things that were left behind. And I think you heard that I was on a trip to my hometown in Guatemala, and I was in my cousin's wedding. And that trip came in a very interesting moment. We were working a lot with Ken on our relationship, and this trip was there, and it just felt like a little weird that I wasn't even have this trip when I was stepping into leadership in one of our centers here. But yeah, I remember the day before I was joining with Ricky, and she's like, yeah, it feels like a little weird that you're leaving right now, but I trust, like, if this is the plan. And it certainly was the plan. And yeah, that trip was very meaningful to me because I was there just to love and to extend the joy, and I was so, so happy. It's like the trip that I went home, and it was absolutely beautiful with my family and my friends, and I just got into my strength somehow. Like, there were all these symbols and all these miracles coming my way. And even in the airport, there was a nun that sat next to me, and she was just talking to me about different things. And then she asked me, what's your name? And I said, Anna. Really? She's like, my name is Anna too. And she said, my name is Anna Faith. And then she said, my last name is really interesting. It's Constant. And I was like, wow, that was so beautiful. She was like Anna of the Constant Faith. And I feel like those were like the symbols that were helping me get in touch with a deeper calling that I have. Like, it's like somehow in the relationship, I was lost somehow in the purpose. I got lost. And yeah, she was just a beautiful symbol of my devotion and the prayer of my heart. And it was like she was helping me get in touch with my calling somehow. But I might not look exactly the way that it does for her, but it was so helpful. And then on the plane, I opened the course book, like, okay, what is it that you want me to see, that you want to tell me? And it was lesson 98. I accept my part in God's plans for salvation. Yeah, and I didn't even know what I was saying yes to. I just feel like I said that lesson with all my heart. Like, yes, I'm yours. I'm yours. And like given that line, my life is not my own. And I'm just here. Use me. Whatever way you want to use me, I'm here. That's all I want to do. And yeah, and it just seemed like right when I came back, it was like everything changed, because I came back and we were all in a prayer of what was going to happen with the relationship with Ken and I, and stepping into leadership together and these different things. And then in the prayer, it became so obvious that he was being called in a mission and I was being called in a different mission, and that the best way that could happen was that he would be in his strength in this new role of following, and I would be in my strength more in leading. So yeah, that wasn't, I remember at the beginning it was a little like harsh, like I don't know if I can do this, and I don't know if I can do this. That was the thing. And yeah, I could, with that, we had a beautiful meeting with Lisa and Jason. You were there, Emily, and I was just heartbroken when I went into that meeting. And yeah, there was a lot of pain coming up for me, and yeah, of the relationship, like stopping to being the way that it was somehow. And but I remember what Lisa said, like, you just need to be in your devotion to God. And yeah, I went through very, like in that moment, I was like, yes, this feels so beautiful. And I was ready for this mission. I'm going to be in leadership in this center and leading Spanish team and different things. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then after that, all this grief came, and all this sadness and loss, and it was very deep. You know, you were like holding me.
Yeah, I think it was just so beautiful to see like how how it was all orchestrated by the Spirit, because you had been experiencing a lot of darkness coming up and moving into this new phase of coming to La Casa and overseeing the center and the Spanish ministry. You could feel in your mind there was something really big coming in, but it was this intense darkness that was coming up for you and for Ken. And then this trip seemed to come in for you to go back and visit your family. And you were even saying it was unlike any other trip you've ever had home. It was like previous times when you'd gone home, it felt more like you were facing more thoughts in your mind. But this time it was just like this love trip. And, you know, from what you shared with me about that trip, it was like actually reconnecting with your desire for God. And I think that that's what a lot of that darkness was beforehand. Like you were saying at the beginning of the show, just you had disconnected in some way for your purpose, like what you had come here for. And it was this relationship with God. And the Spirit gives these, you know, seeming interpersonal relationships, or they're not really interpersonal relationships, but the purpose of them is to strengthen that relationship with God. They're not relationships in and of themselves, but you know, so much healing happens, and it does feel like you are actually in relationship with a person. And when we get to these points where there's a wall that can't be penetrated, and no matter what what we seem to be doing or what shifts in form. I feel like the spirit just wants release, for us to have release in our mind, and wants us to be happy. So things will be reorchestrated, but not ever because anything has gone wrong, but because what's truly going to serve your awakening. And that's where relationships, we take them out of this personal realm. Like there's a much deeper, a much bigger purpose for them. And so when just looking back in the last few weeks for you, I can just see how the spirit has just orchestrated it all so beautifully, because in those few days when you actually got to step out, it's like you got to step out of those thoughts for a few days because you needed a break in your mind. And you felt all of this love, and you met the nun, Anna, of constant faith. And you were saying that lesson, you were reading it over and over and over on the plane, like reconnecting with that desire for God. And the other beautiful thing you told me was when you left your house, you forgot your journal.
Yeah.
And so you stopped in a store on the way to the airport and you picked up 2 new journals, and you had the thought, wow, this is a new chapter. Like something new is happening. And when you told me that, I could just really feel like all that's happening is that the deep prayer in your heart is being answered. Nothing else. Like it can feel when a relationship seems to fall away, like they never really go anywhere, but when they seem to fall away, it's like it can be very disorientating because who we think we are actually is, it feels like it's being dismantled, like some kind of concept of who we think we are. And it's like, it's so disorientating. But I feel like you've been such a demonstration over the last week or two, because I feel that that's a choice point. When we come to those crossroads, that's a choice point. And the ego wants us to think that we're losing something, like something is being taken away. But that's never what's happening. All that's happening is that something new is coming in, and space needs to be made for that. And obviously the healing comes up, like whatever the feelings, abandonment or loss, and they have to come up to be released. But that's not really what's going on. That's just a purification, so space can be made for what's new. And yeah, you've been so beautiful, because you had those few days of just that, you totally faced it in your mind, that intensity, and then something popped and you just said yes to everything. It was like, I think you have more function, more leadership than you've ever had in your life. And you're just saying yes. You're saying yes to the relationships, yes to the expansion. And in that, your mind is being lifted every day more and more, and you're getting happier and happier. And I just see that as a demonstration of your strength, like your true self, who you really are, is coming forth. And all of this had to happen just for you to be able to get in touch with it. And it was the prayer of your heart.
Yeah, everything has been orchestrated, as you say, because we even had that love day. We had a love day with everyone in the community that's here in Mexico. And I remember I just walked in and I was absolutely dead, like gone, like a zombie. And we were just playing songs and in a meditation, and then this song came up, The Greatest Love by Whitney Houston. And Ricky was holding me, and she was, just being so beautiful, like gentle with me. And I was just crying, and it just felt like at that point, in that song, she's talking about the greatest love of all I found inside of me. And I think that in that point, the greatest love was much more exciting for me than to keep on holding on to the pain that was unbearable. And I think that's what happened. I'm not really sure how it happened. That was like so beautiful. Like the music has played such an important part for me during this. Yeah. I was even listening to another song by Bethel Music. That's I'm over my head or something like that. But the lyrics there are really beautiful. She's saying, further and further I move out of the shore, far away from the shore, and I'm like into the unknown. But whatever it looks like, whatever it takes, I'm yours. And that's when I was in this unknown feeling completely.
You keep saying to me, everything's unknown at the moment. Like
Yeah.
everything that you do in your day is unknown. There's nothing
Yeah.
from the past. And like, isn't that amazing? You know, it's like this fresh blank canvas. And it's like you need to pray and join in every moment because there's no past reference. And the other thing I was just remembering was you were telling me last night that when you went home, it was for a family member's wedding. And during the ceremony, you just got in touch with this deeper commitment. And it was in your mind like a commitment to Ken. You know, you were coming back and you were like, I really want to use this relationship. Like ultimately the commitment was to God. I feel like that's what you were getting in touch with. But symbolically it was Ken. It's like whatever you stepped out of in your mind and just got in touch with all that love, you're like, yeah, I want to accept the means. I'm going to give myself fully. I'm going to go for this. And then you came back and within a day, everything had transformed and you were on a mission and Ken was on a mission and it was going to be a collaboration, all of these things that you're doing. But now actually you fully stepped in. So it's even bigger than you thought. But when you were telling me that, it was so beautiful because I actually feel that that prayer was answered. And it's only when we come in and think that we know what the form is supposed to look like that it can ever seem that something's gone wrong. But your relationship with Ken is eternal. And I know you've said, you know, for both of you, your hearts have opened up to each other more since this reconfiguration has happened. And you're still collaborating on these Spanish retreats and all of that. But if the relationship was only ever to strengthen your relationship with God and to deepen that, by you making that commitment in that ceremony in your mind to Ken, actually it's being answered. Like you are going deeper together. Your relationship with him is deepening, but the form is just shifting. And I think that that's where we need to expand our concept of even what relationships is, because it's so limited in a worldly sense. Beginnings and endings. When it ends, it's over.
Heartbreak.
Yeah,
Horrible.
like the person's gone.
Yeah.
They're lost or whatever. But actually, I think, you know, in our community, we experience over and over again that every time a relationship shifts, there's a deepening and the love deepens until we come into that experience that it was never really about the person, but they were the means that were given. So I just thought that was so beautiful when you were sharing, because the way you were sharing is like, oh, I thought it was going to be this, and then the next day it all went the other direction. But I don't actually see it as separate. I feel like that's the only way you could have gone deeper with Ken. The other way, it was stagnant. There was no deepening in the relationship, and now there is. And you don't know what the spirit has in store, how it's going to look. But yeah, it's the unknown, and that's exciting.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And even, like all my other past relationships have been like, as you say, in the world, like it's over, gone, and all these different things. And when I was going through all that pain, you said, this is for you to see that there is no loss. And I was holding that in my heart, and it was like, I saw him again, and it was like, oh my God, I could never ever stop loving you. Like I don't have to try even. I can just love you as I love you and as I loved you, and it just feels like it's deeper now.
It's like the only thing that's been taken away is the pain, like the pain and the limits. But yeah, the love is supposed to remain. That was always what was true.
Yeah.
And what configuration is going to support that? Really, that's the only question. That's all we want. But it's like in that section from the Course, beyond, I think it's beyond all idols. Like when you decide on the form, you lose the understanding of like the meaning.
Mm.
And how has it been for you the last week or so in La Casa, like with all of these new functions?
Wow, it's been really full. But I've been really happy too. Really happy. It's like I tapped into this happiness that I haven't tapped in a long time. And I remember one morning I said, Emily, I feel very peaceful. She was like, this is great. Enjoy it. And
and in the evening you said, Emily, I still feel peaceful. It's still here.
Yeah. During the relationship, it was very intense. So it's like, it would be just a few hours and I was feeling great. And then other things were coming up for different things. But yeah, even that day, I had a whole peaceful day. That was amazing. And then 2 days where I was completely happy. And I remember I even had a meeting with Ken. I was so happy to see him, so happy to see him. And it was, for me, it was like I was just a little girl playing with my friend. That's always been this beautiful friend that I've had. And yeah, it just feels very sweet.
Now even Andy's at La Casa. It's like he felt impelled to come to Mexico. And there's like a beautiful collaboration there as well. And I think for both of you, even seeing that, like that's a primary relationship now, like it's a different form than the relationship with Ken, but you guys need to be linked in mind. And if you're not, nothing's really stable at La Casa at all. So.
Oh God, I'm so grateful that I have Andy with me right now. He's so beautiful. And yeah, as soon as he came in, I felt the strength underneath me. Like, yeah, there was like a day where the changes were happening, but he was coming at night. During that day, it was very dark and weird. But as soon as he stepped into the door, I just felt like some kind of relief. Like, I'm so grateful, like so grateful. Yeah, support that I never thought would be there. It's all showing up. And it's like, I'm so excited about this new mission because I have to be in so much prayer and so tuned in to be so precise. And when we were talking about it, you were saying, Anna, you need to be so precise in the things that you are to do each day so that you are like being guided through everything so that you can be happy and not be into stress or doer or
it's like when we start to get a lot of function, the way I see it is it's that deeper call to prayer, because if you do one thing that you weren't supposed to do for 10 minutes, you start to feel that pressure in the mind because there's actually no space. Jesus wants to use you so fully in every moment that you need to know what he wants you to be doing, or else it just starts to get really disorientating. So it's a real speed up in the mind when we're given all of these functions and leadership roles. It's like, truly, you have to pay so much attention to how you feel. Like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing in the moment? Because it's like there's the margin for error is like being decreased, which is good.
And I feel happy about that. So happy. It's like, I'm so excited. It's like, yes, I want to be doing what you will for me, like what you're guiding me to do. And overall, like getting like in this closer relationship with the Spirit is what I want. It's really what I want. And then all the means are there for me to practice.
Yeah.
So I just feel so grateful for that.
Yeah, and all the support's given as well. Like if there's a reconfiguration and something seems to fall away, whatever is needed, the Spirit will bring in. We'll bring in the people, the resources, the mind support, whatever it is. And I think you're experiencing that. You know, you've moved into the library bedroom now, and you have the library, and you're saying to me the other day, it feels like a house. It's so big in here. But you need that. You need the library so you can start joining one-on-one with, you know, the residents at La Casa. So like whatever we're given is only to support our function. It's not because of preferences or because we personally want something. You know, it can seem to match up sometimes. Okay, I've got this beautiful room, but underneath it, what is it for? It's to serve the whole. It's so Jesus can use me. It's so that I can be in my strength. And then there's no guilt with any of it.
No. I was moving in. It's like, wow, this is new. Yeah, very new. It all feels new. That really felt like I came from one trip to another trip, like to this new dimension. And it's like even thinking about the past, it just feels like a distant dream somehow. It was like something changed completely. I came from that trip so lifted up and so happy. And it was like, it gave me that strength to be able to move into this new chapter.
And that's it. When you're so fully in the present moment, and you are at the moment because you've got all of this function and Jesus is just using you, then the past is a distant memory. The only way the past can be strong and real in our mind is if we're living there in our mind. But when you're being used in the present moment by Jesus, there really is nothing else.
The present moment. I was reading a quote today. There's a gift waiting for me in the present. And that feels so beautiful. Like that's when I'll be open to hear the Spirit and be in that connection. And it even feels beautiful that back at home I printed this picture of Jesus and brought it with me. And it's right beside me on my bed. So it's like the very first thing I do when I wake up is I see him. It's like, okay, you are with me. I know you're with me. And at night is the same. And during the day, he's there. And I don't know, it just feels like this relationship is like really deepening somehow.
It's just a beautiful demonstration of how it's never about the form or even what we're doing, like overseeing a center or organizing a retreat. It's all just given to deepen that relationship with Jesus. And if it's not being used for that, it feels empty. And that's when the doer comes in. It's like we have to keep coming back to, what is it for? What is it for? And if we're not feeling that deepening and if we're not feeling that expansion, it's like to come back to prayer, because why else would we do anything?
That was really important for me, getting really in touch. What's the desire of my heart? Before I even was getting into my projects or whatever, like, why am I doing this? If it's only about the things I seem to have to do, it will be very empty. Just like any other job. Like if the purpose is not there strongly, it's just lost again. It's like I've been getting in touch. I even was reading more about devotion and reverence, and I just really want to remember. And when I remember that it's about being connected with Jesus in this, it's like, oh yeah, it's not about what I have to do at all. I don't think I can do what I'm being put in to do. Or even if I think I know, that's not the case. I didn't came here for that.
You actually said to me, was it the other day, before I came to community, I was like really competent in everything. Like everything I tried, I got all of these reflections of, oh wow, art, you're so great at art, or music, whatever it was. And then I came to community, and it was very different. But then you see that it's not about, are you good or bad at things in the world? It was never about that. It's now you have a prayer to heal that you're doing anything. So you can't get those reflections and witnesses of, oh, good job, Anna, well done, because it's not gonna deepen that relationship.
No, exactly. That's so beautiful. Yeah, I'm so grateful that you were here on my show, Emily.
Yeah, I'm grateful too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So grateful you're here with me. Thank you.
I love you, Anna.
I love you too. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It was lovely, lovely to see you. Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you guys. That expression of love at the end is just such a perfect segue into some of the upcoming events. And I'm going to give you one that's actually happening in August, the Awaken to Love event. And, you know, the reason I'm highlighting it right now is on the 31st, the early bird special pricing ends, so that's something to keep in mind. But more than that, you know, this whole, this Awaken to Love festival event celebration is really coming to a place, or bringing you to a place. It's going to happen at the monastery in Utah, where you will be surrounded by love. And that's exactly what I felt with it, you know, during Anna's show, just how she was totally surrounded by that love. And this is something that's going to happen at this Awaken to Love celebration at the monastery. It really is an invitation into a state of mind of love. So it's something to keep in mind. I know it's August, but please do remember that January 31st, the pricing, the early bird pricing ends. So it's something that you might, if there's a tickle, now's a good time to have a look at more detail. And again, all of this is on livingmiraclecenter.org/events. Just to complete my thoughts about This Moment Is Your Miracle, there is a spring tour, and it's happening like now. Jenny and Greg are literally hitting the road. They're going to be driving from Utah to California, spending a bunch of time there. And then following that, they'll be in the eastern U.S., including Florida. So all of the events that are planned are on the event page. If you're feeling a tickle and you'd like to invite them and have an event at your house, whether it's just a small gathering or whatever, please do reach out to Jenny and Greg. You can reach Greg at greg@livingmiracles.org, and he'd be happy to coordinate with you something happening, particularly on the East Coast. The West Coast is starting to really fill up, but there's still lots of room for joining. And again, this whole thing is about joining and just spreading this beautiful, beautiful words that are available in This Moment Is Your Miracle. So the spring tour is in full flight. And if you'd like to reach out and support that, fantastic. Lots of events coming up. Just want to keep everything in mind. I've got so many things. I'm just going to go to the event page myself and just highlight some of the ones that are coming up fairly quickly. Got to go back to page here. Bear with me a second. So coming up, you know, very, very soon. Again, the interview with Jennifer Hadley, which is on the 29th with David. The interview with Alan Cohen, which is on the 30th, again with David. Stepping into Magnitude is next weekend. It's building to be an amazing event, a wonderful, wonderful follow-up from Undoing the Doer. So let's say goodbye to the doer. Now, how do I really step into my magnitude? And it's just, the flow is just beautiful coming up this weekend, and that starts on Friday, February the 1st, and goes through at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and flows through until the following Sunday, February the 3rd. So right off the top, the trip, the road trip with Greg and Jenny starts on February the 4th. And there is a workshop coming up then. So again, you'll see more information about that on the events page. February 8th, the Forgiveness Tour starts with Ricky. She'll be in Daytona Beach. And then coming up on the 9th as well, Kristen Buxton will be in Sao Paulo, and I happen to be there with her, which I'm really, really looking forward to. That's a weekend retreat, and it's available both online and in person. And please do take a look at that. It's a $30 event. It's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. fantastic opportunity to really develop a deeper relationship with Spirit. And it's something that I'm certainly looking forward to. I'm looking forward to joining in person with Kristen. I haven't seen her for quite some time, and a bunch of mighty companions that I've been joining with in Brazil. So that's a very special event for me. February 15th is the Forgiveness Tour continues with Ricky. And that's February 15th and 16th, and that'll be in St. Augustine, Florida. Follow that, February 20th, Forgiveness and Healing. Ricky's joining with Benicio, and that'll be in Fort Lauderdale. February 22nd, moving across the world to Denmark, a beautiful 4-day retreat with Kristen and Jackie, listening to the still small voice within. And a beautiful invitation into the silence, and that's in Denmark, again, February 22nd through the 25th. And then we're getting into the beginning of March. Certainly the tour is continuing with Jenny and Greg on the 5th and the 7th. It feels like there's so many. I really would love you to go to the event page and just follow all the details there. And the event page is just exploding. We're now on to 3 pages, and I'm sure it's going to get to 5 or 6 before we're finished. Lots of events coming up, so lots of ways to stay connected. I think that's it for now. I think that's lots of information. I don't want to overload you with any more, so we'll see you shortly, and we're going to be joined with Modern Mystics with Andy coming up in a few minutes. See you soon. Bye for now.
Perception is a mirror. Appearances but deceive. I love the metaphysics of this, because it gives you the answers. When you know that all appearances deceive and that all perception is projection, okay, then you know that is not life. There's one illusion you don't want to forgive. It's because you have fear to be in the abstract, and there is some favorite illusion that you cling to, and you have no peace if you do that. So that's why we talk about give it all up, and it's about give all beliefs up. It's not about leaving form behind. You can't leave form behind if you haven't looked at the beliefs, because it comes from the beliefs. It's not anything else. It's what you experience and what you perceive. It's how you feel. And I love that, how you feel is the gateway into the truth. If you don't feel peaceful, okay, let's look at what is there. What do I believe? What do I want to cling to? We believe that there are certain things that forgiveness cannot heal. That's why we stay stuck in something. It's because we believe that, okay, this one God cannot handle. This problem is so deep, this problem has hooked me so hard. But that way of thinking is the only problem. The belief that God cannot handle that, or that you cannot give that up. But that's littleness, and you're made for magnitude, and so let's join together in this and look at our favorite obstacles.
I've hid a shelter for your heart, and cover you with roses, the color our past that we all know, to a place we've been before.
The world has not yet come to a comprehensive awakening.
We could say that even that same desire to be liked, to be included, to belong to something and someone, and feel that sense of belongingness, that does seem to follow us all the way through our adult lifetime as well. And like you were saying, it's become such a habit that we realize that there's conflict with that, where we sometimes speak something or say something for someone's approval, or to be liked, yeah, to not hurt the feelings, you know, and to kind of not rock the boat too much, you know, go along with the crowd, go along with something, and then when we're away from that situation, we can have conflicting thoughts and feelings that come in. Why did I say that? Why did I commit to that? To do that this weekend? I would much rather do this and this and this weekend instead of that. And then we have this like a war going on inside. Like, it's like a committee meeting. You know, like we gotta hear all the different sides, and it's like suddenly we're at a meeting of the United Nations in our own mind. And I find that the way through that is basically what I would call integrity of mind, where everything that we perceive and feel and think and believe and desire becomes into alignment. But to me, that's when Jesus is talking about right-mindedness. He's talking about an integrity of mind where everything is completely in alignment. So there's no aspect of our mind that's out of alignment, that wants to do something else, where there's conflicting things that are coming in, whether they're conflicting identities or conflicting desires or conflicting outcomes, that all of that is washed away when we come into alignment with God, or we come into our sense of right-mindedness. But it takes a lot of practice, because we're trained in the other way. We're trained to have our identity and our emotional well-being based on how other people treat us, how other people speak to us, how the world seems to come at us seems to have a lot to do with our state of mind, instead of us being 100% responsible for our state of mind.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for Modern Mystics with Andy. Take it away, Andy.
Hi, everyone. You might notice the backdrop is a little different today, and it's because I'm actually in Mexico. And Nicholas isn't going to be joining me on the show today, but actually I have a special guest who's been on the show before, but I'm really excited to have him on again. It's actually Peter. Say hello to Peter.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this show because, you know, I feel like whenever we have these online retreats, which there's one coming up very soon, it's always like, you know, whatever's in our awareness, it's what's coming for our healing, if that's what our purpose is and what our desire is. And it's like this next online retreat is about stepping into magnitude. So it's almost like, okay, I think maybe that might be my theme coming up. You know, it's like that seems to be really strong in the mind. And yeah, I just thought maybe we'd speak on that a little bit, because even how I came to Mexico, it was like this huge inspiration just struck me. And it was amazing. Like I was like so lit up. My rockets were firing like 1,000%, and I was like so like, I don't know, happy and excited and inspired. And you know, it's like in the mind, when you start coming closer to the light, it's like that's when all the darkness and everything else seems to come up too, because it's like as David says a lot, you know, it's like you come closer to the light and then you rush back to darkness, and it's like this going closer, rushing back. It's like, whoa, can I go closer? It's like, I don't know. And it's like the movie Aquaman, you know, he was really, I don't know how many of you guys have seen the movie, but in the movie, he was really coming into his strength in the way of like, he needed to claim his inheritance as the, I think, ocean master or something like that, right? Or basically,
the king.
Yeah, the king of Atlantis, and to unify both worlds of Atlantis and like on the land. And he had so much unworthiness, and basically he was just taking his steps to come closer and closer to the light and really claim his inheritance and know who he is. But at some point, it was a really beautiful scene, because him and this girl, or his mighty companion, he had this light, and he went off of the boat, and he was going closer to where this trident was, which was like a symbol of him like fully taking on his inheritance. And it was like going through the darkness for him, because he had this little light, like this little flare with him, and they were just sinking through the ocean, and a huge swarm of these monsters or creatures were like closing in on them. And it was basically like going through the darkness to the light. And I even had this dream shortly before I came here, where I was just having this Skype call with Carolina, and we sunk into like this meditation, and like my mind just like lit up, and it was like this mystical experience, and it was amazing. And then when I went to sleep that night, I basically, my mind rushed back to darkness. Like there were all these like past images where, like, you know, I was with my ex-girlfriend all of a sudden, and I was with like memories with family, and I was in the park with family, and we were just sitting there, and then I could hear like some kind of like beating under the ground, like drum beats or something like that. And all of a sudden I heard, I don't know from where, but I heard that the insects were taking over the world. And then the ruler, the master of the insects was Jeffrey. and I didn't really know what that meant. But when I went and I connected with Jeffrey, it was really great, because I got a lot of insight. And it was like, yeah, actually, I really trust Jeffrey as like the symbol in my mind. Like I really have this like deep trust for him. And in the dream, he's like the ruler of the insects, and the insects are literally taking over the world and taking over that good memory or that dream. And then like the scene shifted, and I was underground in some cavern, and it was like flooded with all kinds of insects. Like they had like completely taken over, and it was like really dark and this and that. And yeah, when I just joined with him, he's like, yeah, remember Aquaman? That reminds me of that scene where he's like really getting swarmed by those creatures. And And then it's like, yeah, Jeffrey's like this symbol of trust in my mind. So it kind of, I was like, oh yeah, it's just like my mind rushed back to darkness, like back to the littleness. And so, yeah, I feel like that was one of the things I just wanted to talk about. Because even when I was growing up, like, I just remember, you know, I was like a young kid, and I've talked about this a little before, but I think I was like 12 years old watching Batman Begins, and you know, he's like this little boy with his parents, and then they're on a train, and his father's like, yeah, this is our business or whatever. But I just felt some kind of like urge for some kind of magnitude, and it was so distorted, you know, and I had no idea like what the feeling really was, but it was just some kind of feeling like, oh, like, I don't know, there's something more. And now it's like, as we step into our inspirations, I can see like my mind tries to go back into like these memories from the past, like these good memories. And really the Course tells us like there's really no good or bad memories. They're all to be let go of, because you don't really even know the difference between pain and joy. Like the love will always be there, but it's like, it's all images. So it all has to be like forgiven in the end. And yeah, so I would just notice my mind coming back to these kind of memories. And yeah, so I did want to talk about too, because, you know, I feel like we're both, actually everyone, it's really like a step into magnitude right now. And we've had some similar themes of like communication and, you know, like speaking up. And I've noticed for myself, like when I'm feeling prompted to speak up and communicate something, if I don't do it right away, or if I delay or just don't do it in general, I'll feel like this unworthiness. Or it's like, if I don't follow any kind of prompt, then I'll feel the unworthiness coming back and this littleness and etc. Like even, you know, we have these projects we use for awakening, and you know, one of my priority projects is like this Google ad grants thing, and it's really like inspiring to me, and it feels so good when I work on it, but there's like also such a resistance to working on it. And it's funny, it's just like a symbol of like, yeah, it's like scared of actually being happy. And but it's good because there's so many prompts that come in with that, just to keep pushing you. Because last night I had all these dreams that were pushing me towards like, hey, remember Google Ads, like it makes you feel happy, remember to keep working on it. So it's like really coming into that light, and even if we rush back to darkness, just remembering to just keep going. And yeah, I wanted to talk to you about something, because you know, yesterday was a really big day for you, and you got married. Actually, it was like a big wedding here, and with Helena, and yeah, I just wanted to hear your experience about that and how you feel like that has to do with yourself stepping into magnitude. Just any experiences around that.
Yeah. Well, the commitment feels huge. Yeah, because it's like we've had, you know, a couple of weeks now where we've been kind of really concentrating on, you know, what are our vows actually, and each time we tried to join on it, it's like, no, it's not time yet, and we want to really feel it, until it was like actually the morning of the wedding, and we didn't even have the vows solid. But it was funny because I still had the thought in my mind of like what it was, and we both had the essence of like what it was in our mind, and that was like, it feels like we're marrying the universe. There's something of that, and actually at the wedding I really felt that too. Like some of you may have seen it online too, because we did like a live Facebook live video of the wedding. And that was the thing that I really felt. It was like, it's more than just the two of us getting married. It's really like saying yes to everyone, to the whole sonship. And it was a prayer for myself at the beginning of the year as well, is like, because we seem to have like the community setting here. And for myself, I had this prayer at the start of the year. It's like, I want to feel everyone in my mind. I want to feel like this care and this communication going out to everybody, symbolic, like in the ministry and in the community. But that's just like, it's my stepping stone to like expanding out to everything. I know it is. And so like communication seems to be like this huge like theme. And you know, Andy and I have been given like a role of like communication overseers in the community, and for that it brings up a lot, because the ego always wants to pull back, wants to say, okay, that's enough. We can just step back now and just kind of like gather ourselves, because it gets freaked out every time we move towards communication. And usually like we have these uplifting experiences of like joining with our brothers here and like getting so uplifted and going like, yeah, wow, that's great. Why didn't I join all the time? That feels so good. And then it's like, okay, I'll just get back to my thing now. Just subtly, you get back into some old rhythm, and then then you get like, before you know it, you just feel lost again. But that communication is what we keep on getting drawn back to, and I feel like that's the practice, like that. It's you can and then like when there's not a constant communication, it feels harder to step into it like again, like the next time. So it's like trying to keep in that flow of communication too, where keep on top of the wave kind of feeling. So that feels like synonymous with the magnitude with me. Like being in full communication feels like it's being in like all the channels are open to the light and there's no escape. Like so the ego gets really freaked out. It's like, ah, but that's where we feel the happiest. That's where we feel the real uplift.
Yeah, I feel that, because when I was really inspired to come down here, I couldn't stop calling everyone, and like no one had to tell me to do it, because I was just so inspired. So I like called you, and I called just everyone, and I just felt so connected. It was just like what you said, all the channels. I just felt connected everywhere, and that's what it felt like, magnitude. Because the magnitude is not going to be in form, because actually it says in the chapter littleness versus magnitude that the world was made out of littleness. So it's like it has nothing to do with the form, but it's more like what's guided and following the inspiration. So I just love that feeling when I was like just communicating with everyone, like, the channels were open, and I just felt like, everywhere actually.
Yeah, and that kind of feels like the purpose of the marriage too, like just with Helena, like, because we've been, we're always spending so much time with each other, even like working in the same room, and it's like this constant opportunity for me to be so like, am I open, am I communicating, or am I hiding something? And she'll call me out on it too, like, when I'm on my computer and I'm doing something that I that is a distraction. She's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, oh, hey, I'm brought back again. But it's kind of like I've asked for that seemingly, because it's coming in as like a really helpful thing to like stay in communication, stay open, and also like just to notice where it is that I'm hiding. Because I think my personality, I have like this tendency of like going quiet and just kind of like can kind of go into my own head and into my own space. And I've kind of mentioned it before of like, I find if I'm joining one-on-one with somebody, I feel pretty good with like communication, but I just noticed some weird things. Sometimes if it's like two people and me, I suddenly just stand back and I just start watching the conversation and I go quiet. And it's just like, it's like, it's a really weird thing. It's just like, why aren't I engaged right now? Why am I? And there's something about that, like, so it feels like I'm being called to see that pattern a lot with like the communication, like that we have like phone calls and everything. But even just, with Helena, and at times, like also because with the relationship too, you can see the intensity coming up and the attack thoughts seem to be coming up more frequently, and parts of my mind that I haven't really looked at. And it's always like, I have this tendency, like I can just kind of go quiet, and it's just like, hey, where have you gone? Where have you gone? Speak, share. It's like, and there's an anger under that of like trying to control, trying to like, keep in some kind of littleness or something like that. But I don't know, it's a practice for me.
Yeah, it's really good. Because what comes to mind too for me is like, prioritization, which is really just following whatever the Holy Spirit wants you to do in the moment. And just to bring back to like this project that really feels inspiring for me, like I can just see how it's like I'll just work on other things that aren't guided, and then I'll just kind of clam up, like you said, and then I think even last night I had these dreams, like I was, and it feels like some kind of apathy too, like the clamming up for me, because last night I had these dreams where I was in some kind of house, and it was like one of our centers, and I was looking out the window, and there was like this shed, and the shed was on fire, and it was like burning up, and it was like, and I was like telling everyone, I was like, hey, we need to put out that fire, but like I just kept saying that and not actually doing anything myself, and no one was doing anything because it wasn't really for them anyways. It was like really for me, and just nothing happened. It was just the shed was just burning, and I was just like staring at it and not moving, and it just reminded me of like, it was like a strong symbol of the Holy Spirit saying like, hey, like there's this high priority function I gave to you so that you can be happy, and you're choosing littleness instead. And yeah, you can tell everyone else all you want that it's like, hey, I'm not getting to my high priority project, but you're not the one to put out the fire. Like, you need to be the one to do that. And so I woke up today and I was like, oh wow, that was a really strong symbol. Like, maybe I should get right into that. And I just started working on it, and I started feeling really good already. And it's like, that just to me is like some kind of symbol of like not wanting to go into the magnitude, because really it's like, it's whatever the means is provided by the Holy Spirit that's going to bring us into that magnitude. We don't know how we're going to do it ourselves.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, yeah, I don't know. I've had this after the wedding ceremony yesterday, and we came back and came back home, and we sat down and we're like, what are we going to do now? And just kind of feeling out what's the movie or what's the theme, and Helena had the theme of like a betrayal or a guilt, up in the mind, and it wasn't even really aware of what it was, but it felt like some block in the mind. And then there's been this kind of like ongoing prompt the past like week that she's had to watch the movie Dark City. So seemingly on the night of our wedding, we watched the movie Dark City, which seems really funny, but it was so fun. It was great actually when we got into it, because I can see something with that as well. Like, there's, the wedding was so bright and so beautiful, and it felt like a couple times we're like watching, it's like, this looks like a movie set. Like, it just feels like a film set. Like, what's kind of going on, and how it was playing out. And then so there's some kind of like feeling of like, there's something there blocking the great love, like, the full love that we want to experience. And so we're watching that movie Dark City, and something about it is like the attack thoughts. And you mentioned that scene in Aquaman too, where he dives down into the mind and all the monsters start to swarm in. And it's the same thing in that Dark City movie. Like, when he cottons on to like, there's something seriously wrong with the world and what's kind of going on here. And like, he starts to get a hint of that. Then the attack thoughts start to come in more frequently. Like, it's kind of like saying like, it's his own mind being reflected of like, he's going to go for the truth now. He actually wants the magnitude. He doesn't want to hang on to the illusion anymore. And then the attack thoughts in the mind start to come in, and it's like, and there's even that scene in Dark City too, where it's like, there's a point where he's been battling it out on the surface and like pointing like the blame out there and trying to fix things in the world. But there's one point where he just has to like drop within the mind. And in Dark City, he goes underground, like there's this alien species like controlling the world, but he has to go right down there and like face the attack thoughts like straight on in the source, like right in the depth of his mind. So there's something of that. I don't know. I've been feeling that too, because like I've been feeling the intensity lately. Like, there's a really bright symbol of like getting married and the commitment that I made, and the commitment to like want to feel everyone and really feel this depth of the love. And at the same time, like the intensity is coming up in the mind pretty strongly as well. And this morning is like, I watched that movie too, and this morning I woke up with fear in my mind, and I said to Helene, this is like, I got this fear in my mind and I don't know where to go with it actually. And I just kind of like, expressed it, but it felt like I was just hitting a dead end. And then I went into the bathroom, and it's just like, going, what am I doing? Like, this is kind of going nowhere. And I remembered in the ceremony yesterday, David mentioned, it's about, choosing to take the high road. It was one of the things that he said, like, and that just kind of reflected in my mind. It's like, oh, it's a choice. Actually, now it's like, I can choose for the truth. Do I want to really choose into like the fear thoughts that are coming in, or do I actually want to really choose for the truth? It just kind of came in as a clear choice. And I came out and I said that to her in the bedroom, like, I want to choose the truth today. And she's like, I can join you in that. And so something felt so beautiful about that to me. But like, there's something of that too. Like, we're getting closer to that choice for magnitude, and the fear thoughts are kind of like getting more intense around us. And it's like, oh, and it really is that choice. Like, okay, I don't want to buy that. I want to join with you and my brother in the truth now. Like, having to choose that over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another thing for me too is just remembering to just really stay like clueless about this all. It's like, I don't really know what's going on. I can't control what's going on, and letting those defenses down. So it's like whatever needs to be healed, or like if there's attack down there, attack thoughts, it's like letting down the defenses so I can see them. Because this recurring defense that comes in my mind is like, I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing. And then that becomes sort of like this block to like, just like something deeper down there, like a hurt or a pain or a deep loss or something, some kind of emotion that is like not being allowed to come to the surface because there's a fear around it. Because Lisa came over and yeah, she was just reminding me of that. It's like, yeah, it's just, we just really want to stay in like a state of cluelessness. So I feel like that's my prayer too, to just like, okay, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, like a child or like a baby. It's like the Holy Spirit's just taking care of us, and as much as we can to just try not to be in the way of the healing, because it's like, we're not the healer. We can't really do this ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we've been given the mighty companions we need to just allow, you know, I don't know, allow the dismantling, like allow the falling apart of like the self-concept. And it does look kind of, you know, freaky. It can feel a bit freaky at times when it's like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on, where I am, what I'm doing. And it's kind of like very disorienting. And it's kind of like, it's those times where it's always like, that's the purpose of the mighty companions. It's like to give each other the space to fall apart, or seemingly fall apart, and be held, and know we don't have to actually do anything. It's just like allow that process. And there is there's the choice in the mind to like stay connected, like, you know, stay with me. You are with me, and trust that, you know, everything is going as it should be. Trust like the dismantling is happening, but you're held and you're safe. So, and that's all that it's just like an encouragement to know that you don't have to try to fix anything now. Yeah, you can just like let it be.
Yeah. Because yeah, it was coming up for me, and I just sank down underneath it. Like what was coming up was like this, I think I know what I'm doing thing. And I just saw the other day that like underneath is actually like a frantic energy, like a panic, like, oh wow, I've actually like really messed things up. It's like, yeah, like hold it together. Like it'll never be the same. Just do what you can to make things okay. But you know it'll never be like it used to be. Like it'll never be perfect or something like that. Like this deep guilt and sadness is like was down there. And yeah, I feel like that's just my prayer, to just keep sinking below that. And it's like, it's okay. You can allow those emotions to come up, and just noticing whenever that energy comes in, like, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know something.
Yeah.
Trying to hold something together, but really underneath it's like when I was like in elementary school, this counselor came and visited our class and said, what is it that really upsets you? And I actually wrote down what feels upsetting to me is when my mom drops and breaks like a glass or like a plate or something. And I never understood why that felt invoke some kind of guilt or sadness in me or loss. And then the other day when I was just, that flashed in my mind again, and I just saw it was because it's just this feeling of like it's broken forever and like it can never be put back together kind of feeling. And that's like that whole frantic panic is like underneath this, like I think I know what I'm doing, I think I know something, I can do this, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. It's like that's like on top of this energy. So
yeah, that's why we have to like make that like such a powerful commitment we make here, so we know like there's like we've made the commitment first, we're held by spirit, and then we can just like allow that breaking apart to happen. But yeah, it's just like we couldn't, like, without that kind of trust like put forward first, it's just like, yeah, we'd never be able to do this, because like the ego just feels like it's getting decimated.
I feel like that's like the mask of the world. It's like there's all that panic underneath, and then there's like the mask that's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, it's all good, don't worry about it, you know. It's like I don't remember Dark City that well because it's been a while, but masks were some kind of theme in that, I think, too, right? Or at least it was on the poster of the movie.
Well, they all have these identities that are based in guilt that aren't actually them. You know, they have roles in the world that they keep on trying to uphold. They have guilt from their past that they keep on trying to make amends for and things like that. But all their memories are actually fake. They're imprinted into their mind. They're not who they really are. And it's like a distraction. It's a massive distraction where they're trying to make up for something. It's a personality, but they're actually like called deeper. And that's what, you know, we've put our purpose so strongly out in front. It's like we only really want the truth. We want to go for the magnitude. We want to really go there, and everything else has to kind of dismantle and fall apart. That's why we are like communicating, like in these communication roles, is so like, so we can just like keep so open and keep those channels open the whole time, and give that ego such little room to kind of, you know, call us in the mind and like talk to us and keep on trying to convince us. It's like, no, keep listening to the voice of truth. Keep on listening to the ones who have been given you to remind you of the truth. Stay in that calling. Like stay focused.
I think there's even a line that reminds me of that. Yeah, here it is. It's yeah, this is littleness versus magnitude. It's in chapter 15, section 3. And I don't even know whose book this is, but it was in the room, and they actually highlighted this part. So I was like, yeah, this is really good. So it's paragraph 3. It says, there's a deep responsibility you owe yourself, and one you must learn to remember all the time. The lesson may seem hard at first, but you will learn to love it when you realize that it is true and is but a tribute to your power. You who have sought and found littleness, remember this. Every decision you make stems from what you think you are and represents the value that you put upon yourself. Believe the little can content you, and by limiting yourself, you will not be satisfied. For your function is not little, and it is only by finding your function and fulfilling it that you can escape from littleness. And it says, there is no doubt about what your function is, for the Holy Spirit knows what it is. There is no doubt about its magnitude, for it reaches you through him from magnitude. You do not have to strive for it, because you have it. All your striving must be directed against littleness, for it does require vigilance to protect your magnitude in this world. Yeah. Yeah, it just says, to hold your magnitude in perfect awareness in a world of littleness is a task the little cannot undertake. Yet it is asked of you in tribute to your magnitude and not your littleness. And then it says, nor is it asked of you alone. The power of God will support every effort you make on behalf of his dear Son. Search for the little, and you deny yourself his power. God is not willing that his Son be content with less than everything. For he is not content without his Son, and his Son cannot be content with less than his Father has given him. So yeah, I just love that, because it says, you know, your function is not little, and the Holy Spirit knows what it is. And really, it's like your function is forgiveness, but in this world, you know, the Holy Spirit uses specifics, so it's like he'll tell you like what your function is. And if your function looks like some kind of project or some kind of role with communication, it's like fully taking that on as a way of accepting the means towards magnitude, and then just seeing all the little ways that we try to go towards littleness by not going towards the functions, especially when it's guided in. And just, I think that's what it's talking about, like all your striving must be directed against littleness and having the vigilance to protect it.
I think we've actually just run out of time.
Oh yeah, we did. Okay, well, we'll leave it at that, and thank you so much, Pete, for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, thank you. Such a beautiful theme. Stepping into magnitude.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, the show will be every Sunday at 10:30 MST.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Well, thanks, guys. And speaking of stepping into magnitude, Frank Achuli has stepped into North America and is going to do a guided meditation for us to end the session. So, without further ado, I'm going to unmute Frank. I hope I can unmute Frank. Right now, I'm having a hard time unmuting him. I don't know why. Can someone in Camus try unmuting Frank, because for some reason I'm not able to. Thank you.
Am I supposed to? Okay.